these settings, and then we're good to go.
Take your time. Take my day out.
Sorry. Skipping is going very slow, but.
So this, yes, for the conditional use permit, and is the applicant.
Hello,
Hello.
I believe so. We haven't met. I'm Brittany Randall.
Good to go.
Bridge there.
Right.
Yes, so
Wonderful.
if you would like to provide testimony. It's like I don't know if I want to provide any.
If you don't want to, then you don't need to. If you wanted a copy of the decision or.
Yeah.
Provided,
Yeah.
provide your name and address.
We are live.
Fantastic.
You're ready.
Waiting for. Good afternoon. My name is Gary Darnell. I'm City of Salem hearings official. For the record, it's 5:30 on Wednesday, June 26, 2024. This afternoon, we have one hearing on the docket, and that's concerns a consolidated application for a conditional use permit and a class 3 site plan review for the addition to an existing parish hall at 3295 Ladd Avenue Northeast in Salem. The applicant is Brittany Randall of Brand Land Use, representing St. Timothy's Episcopal Church. This is case number CU-SPR-ADJ 24-04. The approval criteria in this matter are found in Salem Revised Code 240.005 sub A sub 1 through sub 3. SRC 240.005 sub D sub 1 B3, SRC 220.005 sub F sub 3 sub A, the special use standards of SRC 700-055, and the general development standards of SRC chapter 800. First, are there any objections to the hearings official's jurisdiction? Hearing no objections, let's talk a little bit about the hearing. The hearing are characterized as being quasi-judicial and de novo. Quasi-judicial means there's certain due process rights that are associated with the hearing. The right to testify, the right to notice, the right to a impartial decision maker, and the right to a final decision in writing that has findings of fact and conclusions of law. By de novo, that means that any new evidence that is relevant, that is already in the record, can be received by the hearings official. In terms of evidence, we don't follow the strict rules followed in Marion County Circuit Court, for instance. Evidence that's admissible is that which is commonly relied upon by a reasonably prudent person, whoever that might be, conducting their serious daily affairs. It's important to note that you need to raise any substantive or procedural issues at this stage of the proceedings or if my decision is appealed to the Salem Planning Commission for the Planning Commission. Failure to raise an issue in that regard will preclude your ability to address that issue before the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals. It's a body set up by the legislature to hear appeals of local land use decisions. The burden of proof or each fact or position lies with the person that raised that fact or position. The ultimate burden of proof lies with the applicant to show by a preponderance of the evidence that all the approval criteria have been met. Not 4 out of 5 or 9 out of 10 or 99 out of 100, all of them. The record in this matter consists of the application, supplemental materials, staff report, testimony, both oral and written, that is submitted to the hearings official this afternoon. By statute, you have the right to request that the record be held open an additional 7 days. You don't have to give a reason for that request. You also have the right to request a continuance of the hearing. That's within the discretion of the hearings official. You need to show that merely holding the record open in a certain period of time is insufficient to address any concern you might have, prejudice you feel that you're suffering from. This hearing is recorded, electronically recorded. So I asked those that testify give their name and address for the record in case we have to do a transcript. Also, if you want a copy of my decision, we have sign-up sheets on the table. And if you sign your name, you can receive a copy of my decision when it's issued. In terms of the actual testimony procedure, first I asked for a staff presentation. This afternoon we have Mr. Jacob Brown, who's, I guess, drafted the staff report and will be presenting the same. Following the presentation of the staff report, there will be an opportunity for the applicant's representative, to testify in support of the application. Following that, there'll be an opportunity for others to testify either in support, in opposition, or if you just want to testify and ask a question, have that opportunity. I then ask staff if they wish to address any issues or questions that have been raised, and finally, the applicant will have an opportunity for final summary rebuttal. My decision will be issued usually within 10 days of when the record closes. The record often closes at the end of this hearing. However, often party will realize that they wish to add additional information into the record and will ask that the record be held up. So ultimately, when the record closes, I'll begin my deliberations. I'll issue a written decision, findings of fact, conclusions of law, address any procedural issues, motions that have been raised during the hearing. You can appeal my decision to the Planning Commission within 15 days of its being mailed. The appeal to the Planning Commission is de novo. That means you're not restricted to the evidence that's before the hearings official. You can bring new evidence as long as it's relevant and material to Planning Commission. Finally, the Salem Code requires an impartial hearings official. In that regard, let me say that I've had no ex parte contacts, nor do I have any actual or potential conflicts of interest to declare. At this time, parties may challenge my impartiality, and you have that right throughout the proceedings to challenge my impartiality. Any challenges at this time? If not, Mr. Brown, I know that there was an issue about potential request for a continuance. Should we
That's
talk about
requested,
that
January.
first? Okay,
Thank you.
then we'll go through the staff report. Thank you so much.
Available for everybody to see, all right. Good evening, hearings officer. My name is Jacob Brown. I'm a planner one with the City of Salem Planning Division. I'm here to present the conditional use site plan review adjustment, class 2 adjustment for case CU SPR ADJ 24-04, located at 3295 Ladd Avenue Northeast. At this time, I would like to enter the staff report with its attachments and this presentation into the record. The applicant has requested a conditional use permit, class 3 site plan review, and a class 2 adjustment to expand an existing parish hall building with an existing, associated with an existing religious assembly use. A religious assembly use is a permitted special use in the single-family residential zone, and the conditional use permit is required to deviate from the special use standards of SRC 700.055 to allow the use on specifically to allow the use on a lot greater than 2 acres in size, reduce the amount of landscaping, and allow more than 1 point of access onto a street. The class 3 site plan review is required for the proposed parish hall expansion and site improvements with a class 2 adjustment to eliminate a required pedestrian connection to Ellis Avenue Northeast. Seen here is an aerial overview of the site showing the property abutting Ladd, Windsor, and Ellis Avenue Northeast along its western boundaries. The subject property is located within the northeast portion of Salem and is currently developed with an existing church building and parish hall. To the west is Savage Road, a collector street, and to the east is Hawthorne Avenue, a designated arterial. As discussed, the current zoning of the property is single-family residential with Salem Area Comprehensive Plan designation being single-family residential. The adjoining properties to the north and west are also zoned single-family residential, with the property to the east being zoned mixed-use 3, and to the south, public amusement, PA. In those areas to clearly identify on this plan, the RS stands for, indicates single-family residential, the purple mixed use 3, and the green public amusement. The cumulative area of the development site is 5.29 acres with 2 existing points of access from Ladd and Windsor Avenue Northeast. As noted within the staff report, the site contains 3 distinct units of land as described within the applicant's deed as parcel 1, parcel 2, and parcel 3. The existing parish hall and proposed expansion cross the shared boundary of parcel 2 and 3.
Could I interrupt staff? I've got an assessor's map, tax lot 900. Which are parcels 1, 2, and 3?
I can provide an exhibit at the end to indicate the applicant has provided an exhibit that shows the rough boundaries of those.
Okay, I see that.
Okay. As proposed, the applicant is proposing a 2,581 square foot expansion of the existing parish hall with the site improvements to include pedestrian connections to the northern primary entrances of the existing main church building and Windsor and Ladd Avenue Northeast. As discussed in the conditions, the applicant has conditioned to provide a pedestrian connection to the primary entrances, both along the, specifically for the pedestrian connection to the southern church building entrance. And they are currently proposing a connection to the northern connection here, as indicated. As discussed, the class 3 site plan review is required for the proposed development, and as conditioned, the proposed site plan complies with all applicable development standards of the Unified Development Code, UDC. As the subject property also abuts Ellis Avenue Northeast to the south, shown here, the applicant is seeking a class 2 adjustment to eliminate the required pedestrian connection. And as addressed within the staff's findings, it meets the approval criteria. In terms of the conditional use permit, the existing religious assembly use is a special use within the RS zone, as the applicant is seeking to deviate from the special use standards to allow the use on a lot greater than 2 acres in size, that currently at 5.29 acres, reduce the amount of landscaping, and allow more than one point of access onto a street, currently Ladd and Windsor Ave. The special use section of the Salem Revised Code requires a conditional use permit to deviate from those standards. As discussed in the staff report, the reasonable and likely adverse impacts will be minimized through the recommended conditions, and the use will be reasonably compatible with and have minimal impact on the livability and appropriate development of the surrounding properties. As required, notice was provided to the property's neighborhood association, Northeast Salem Community Association. At this time, no comment has been received from the neighborhood association or from the public. One comment was received from Portland General Electric, which was included in the staff report's attachments. Based on the facts and findings in the staff report, it is recommended that the conditional use permit be approved subject to the recommended conditions of approval. And I can show that exhibit too. So this is an exhibit that was provided by the applicant during review of the application, showing the rough outlines of where the property lines are located of the existing units of land. The area indicated in green is parcel 1. The indicated area in red is parcel 2. And the indicated area in blue is parcel 3, or is parcel 3, yes, correct.
Each of those are legal lots.
Or the chain of title was sent to the City of Salem survey, and it was determined that each are discrete units of land that have been conveyed as such since their creation. And currently, the proposed development is in the existing parish hall, crosses over the shared boundary of parcel 3 and 2. That concludes staff report. Is there any questions?
No, hopefully I'll receive those maps after the hearing.
Yes.
Then I'd like to hear from the applicant's representative.
Great, thank you. My name is Brittany Randall. I own Brand Land Use at 1720 Liberty Street, Southeast in Salem. I'm here representing the applicant in this case. We have reviewed the staff report and the proposed conditions of approval. We've reviewed them with city staff, and we agree that the conditions proposed are appropriate to effectuate the code and the applicable standards in this case. We did not prepare a formal presentation because much of what we would cover was covered in great detail by staff, so thank you for that. We do want to bring your attention to a couple of things that weren't spoken about, some details about the expansion. This will be a small expansion of the parish hall, which includes a kitchen, restrooms, furniture storage, and a mechanical room. As staff described, the proposed addition is approximately 2,500 square feet, just over that. The expansion is to enhance the operations of the church, but the area is not open to congregation members, so it won't increase the capacity or any drive to the church. This church was built on this site in 1961, and development requirements have evolved since the site was originally constructed. As we demonstrate on the plans that we provided, the applicant proposes to remedy many of the existing nonconformities on the site, mostly directed toward how pedestrians maneuver around the site. In areas where we cannot conform, such as making a connection to the south to Ellis, we've applied for a Class 2 adjustment. The connection to Ellis would be incredibly disruptive to existing mature landscape and the way that the site is utilized. We've also asked to retain our 2 means of entry to the site because of the way that the site is laid out. It's one way in and one way out of loops. Because we're not increasing the capacity of the church, we believe that we don't have any further impacts on the neighborhood by retaining these existing entrances. We believe that we have demonstrated by submitting a comprehensive land use package to the record, which staff indicates in their staff report is included in the record, upholding our burden of proof in this case. And that is what I have, and I am available for questions.
I don't have any, I have read staff. Haven't seen the application,
Okay,
but I hope to have a copy before I issue my decision. Are there others in the audience who wish to testify? Okay. Staff have any final comments? Any, well, there's no rebuttal.
Yeah, I won't rebut against myself today.
That's good. It never looks good.
No, it's not a good idea.
Okay, with that, I'll close the hearing and the record. As I indicated, I've read the staff report. I agree with the applicant that the change that's proposed will not change the livability because it doesn't change really the operating characteristics of the use. And if anything, I think what you're doing is going to improve that in many respects. So once I get the rest of the materials in the record, I'll begin my decision and try to have one out in 10 days.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you all for showing up.